So, hello everybody. I decided tonight I am going to I'm going to do this tier list for most anticipated Marvel projects. How anticipated I am for upcoming Marvel projects. So I found this one on Tiermaker by some Kyle. Um, so yeah, I did a few changes. So my tiers are I'm sold basically. I'm going to like there's very little chance I'm not going to see it. Very interested. These are ones I'm very interested in, but I want to find out just a little bit more about them before I'm committed. Somewhat interested. Um, a little less than very interested. It's something that sounds interesting, but I'm same with very interested. I'm not yet committed, but you know, I do want to find out more about it, I guess. So very interested is if I'm very interested, it's like I'm I somewhat interested and very interested. I want to find out more before I commit, but very interested means that I'm probably going to commit, but I want to find out a little bit more before I make the final decision. Well, somewhat interested is, um, you know, it's slightly less. And a little interested is something, like I want to find out a little bit more about it, but like may or may not, um, just casual interest, and then mad. These are the things that are just like, okay, they're going to exist. I'll eventually see, but like I'm probably not going to make time for. Um, just don't really. So like as opposed to a little interested where it's like I want to find out a little bit more about this, but man is just like okay, it's gonna exist, whatever, and then not gonna see very few films will actually go here because I do like to see the Marvel films. And then what is this? Because I was looking at some of these options here, and I'm like I really have no idea what some of these are, so I just added that there. And most of these things are not out yet. Moon Knight and Morbius are out already, and Doctor Strange 2 is out very soon. So, um, yeah. So I'll have to deal with those. Doctor Strange 2 is still not out yet for most audiences, so I'm gonna rank it with the others. So yeah, I'm gonna rank these. And I will say this, ever since Endgame, I have decided to kind of step back from the whole superhero thing. So I'm not gonna be as excited as I may have been like before, just because or not all these are gonna be as like high up as they would have been before Endgame, because I just felt like, after Endgame it kind of concluded the big event. And so everything after it, still interested, but I'm going into it kind of like with less just a film by film basis, not like going with the whole thing like, oh, gotta see this one and this one and this one. I'm just taking them one at a time, so you know it's not going to be necessarily as highly ranked as before. Maybe I would have been before, but I'm still interested to see these films. I'm just the varying levels. Um, most of them are more like want to find out more about before I commit. Um, yeah, very interested means I'll probably commit. I just want to find more about it before. Saying definitely and somewhat interested is I I don't know if I'll commit um right away, but like neutral ground, like don't know at all. Well, a little interested is, mm, I will definitely want to look into it, but I don't necessarily think it'll be something that I'll make a big thing out of. Well, man, it's just like, okay, it's gonna exist. um, yeah, let's see, what do I want to do first? Are they gonna do anything quickly? Or was that just enough of an intro? Okay, so let's start out with the easiest one on the list, Moon Knight. This one I've honestly already seen. Um, and I think when it first came out, or when I first heard of it, I was like very interested, kind of. But then Turning Red skipped theaters, and then I was not interested in Disney Plus. But since I saw Turning Red in theaters in San Francisco, I decided to get Disney Plus just for Moon Knight. So kind of was sold, but yeah, in a way, it. But I knew almost nothing about it. But it was pretty much everything that I would kind of hope from um, a mythological fantasy superhero film. And so, yeah, since I've already seen Moon Knight, I'm not going to be speaking for the first season of Moon Knight, though. But I think for season 2 of Moon Knight, I'm sold. I think if they make a season 2 of Moon Knight, I am probably, most likely, yeah, if they do Moon Knight season 2, I'm in. So, yeah. Um, just want to find out what happens next with the series, and so yeah. So we'll just say this is for Moon Knight season 2. Morbius. Okay, so I am gonna say, I have heard pretty bad things about Morbius, but it has terrible reviews. But at some point, in some ways, I still kind of am interested in it, just a little bit, just because even with terrible reviews, it's like it's about some guy who becomes a vampire. That sounds like it could have potential. Probably doesn't because so many terrible reviews. But I do want to find out about it, and so just a little bit interested. Yeah. Okay. Now to this film, definitely, and I'm gonna put it on sold like before any of the others because like this film before Endgame even came out, this was the film that I was like, okay, if they make it, then I am going to see a Doctor Strange 2. It doesn't matter if Endgame is like a conclusion to Marvel. If, if nothing else, if I see nothing else after Endgame, or well, I don't think it's even Endgame, but after seeing Doctor Strange, it's like, okay, if I only see one film after the finale of Avengers, Infinity War Part 2 is what I called it back then, but it's in game now. If I see one film, it's gonna be Doctor Strange 2. And then all I've been hearing about it, I've only been hearing stuff that actually makes me look forward to it even more. And yeah, there's no way that I'm skipping this one. Everything about it was just like, okay. And then then they made WandaVision, or like, Wanda's going to appear in Doctor Strange 2, and Wanda is now my favorite Marvel character, probably. And so it's like, just like, so great, and then looking, and I mean, some of the reviews aren't the greatest it looks like now, but I already bought my ticket, and I get a balcony seat, and yeah. The biggest concern is kind of, it does have a shorter runtime than it probably should for being such a big film, but people are commenting about how fast-paced it is, so maybe there's a reasonable explanation for it being kind of just very, um, you know, very short. Well, not too short, but just kind of short for we're looking what we're looking forward to. So, yeah, just really, really just have been looking forward to that film. That's been the one for me. That's been the one thing that's been like, okay, Marvel still has a future. And that's possibly just because Doctor Strange has a lot of potential anyway, with like the magic and stuff. And so, yeah, the kind of stuff that I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, Moon Knight also had a lot of the mythological stuff, which I really like mythological stuff. And that brings me on to Thor 3. Almost meh, but I'll put in a little interested because, yeah, a little interested because I did see the preview and it does look like there's potential. I'm sorry, but like, after Thor 3, like I was saying about Moon Knight just now, I really like mythological fantasy films, and like the first two Thor films to me were kind of like, they I don't know if they were perfect adaptations of Norse mythology, but then the third one came out and it's supposed to be Ragnarok, and they totally like just messed up the whole thing. It didn't feel like any. It didn't feel like this was something that you would think of a good adaptation of Norse mythology, and maybe I'm taking it too hard, but yeah, it just did not work with me, and so when like and yeah, and Thor 4 is kind of going to be more of the same. And I will say one thing that Thor 4 does have is that after Ragnarok, Ragnarok is kind of the conclusion to the Norse mythology. So they can go any direction. And at this point, it's like they can go any direction. I really don't mind which direction they go in. It basically they can't ruin it any more than they already ruined it with Thor 3, but yeah, but kind of it's like they can go any direction, and I mean, just it might be interesting somewhat, but I'm just not looking forward to it on the same level of any other. It's just not how I prefer approaching mythological fantasy films, and Moon Knight and Shang-Chi, which actually is in here, is more close to, you know, my ideal for when it comes to mythological approaches in film, and Thor was just kind of just a joke, and Thor 4, it's going off in its own direction. At this point, it's just like, it doesn't really matter so much anymore, like it did with the third one, but it's just, whatever. And I'm sorry to do this one, Miss Marvel. You may hate me for this, but I'm just gonna put it in meh. I mean, okay, let's look at it this way. Miss Marvel is kind of like the understudy of Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel, let's face it, is a knockoff of Supergirl, and Supergirl's just the female version of Superman, and Superman's kind of the most generic superhero out there. So, so it's basically like a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff of a kind of bland superhero, and to me, just I don't know. And I'm sure Miss Marvel's gonna be like, okay, maybe it's gonna be okay. But I like watching the preview; it just kind of looked like a Nickelodeon movie or Nickelodeon show, which might be okay for what it's going for, but it just doesn't really appeal to me to go out of my way for. If I had Disney Plus and it was on Disney Plus, I would see it, but I'm really not getting Disney Plus just for that sake. And yeah, going with that, She-Hulk. I guess I can say a little interested, but I have no idea what She-Hulk is about. It's just like Hulk with a she at the beginning, which kind of does sound weird, but it's like it kind of makes me curious. But Hulk is just like this buff superhero guy, and I don't know if it's that special just to add a chibi for it, but whatever. It might be somewhat interesting. We'll have to see. I might want to see a little bit more before. And this Disney Plus show, Werewolf by Night, it's a special. I think that could be interesting to see a werewolf from Marvel. Yeah. I think, don't know much about it, but I think that would be interesting to see. It's like a short, like only an hour long special, I think, so I don't know what there really is to say about it, but I'll probably check it out when it comes out. And Black Panther 2. This one is, I'll say somewhat interested. I will say I was kind of like, and let's go back to the mythological fantasy. Yeah, obviously mythological fantasies are my thing. And so like, I was kind of hoping, with Black Panther, I really like mythological fantasies, and so Black Panther I was kind of hoping would be that, but it was more like science fiction, which was fine. It's just, you know, I do prefer the mythology, and like with Africa, and maybe I don't know anything, and yeah, don't get don't get upset if I don't know anything. But yeah, with just Black Panther, I was kind of like, well, they could explore like, the 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 beliefs and everything the of Africa, people who live in Africa, and that would be really exciting. And they did a little bit of that, but I just really like when films go heavy on the fantasy elements or the mythological. And the first Black Panther was a good film, but I just personally prefer fantasy, and that was more leaning towards the science fiction. And with Black Panther 2, yeah, like, unfortunately, we all know what happened to Chadwick Boseman, and that's really sad. And how they're going to go on with that afterwards. But I think that that could also lead to some really emotional moments. And I really think that they could put a lot of heart into that film and make it really meaningful and impactful. So I really think there's potential with this film. But like I said, I also do like the fantasy elements. But I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets nominated for an Academy Award if they do it right. And not that would make it really any better that Chadwick's gone, but they could just really make it a really impactful film if they make it a memory of him. And so yeah, I do want to see where this goes, but I'm gonna have to wait till the preview to see how I feel about it. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Okay, they're doing that. It sounds like it'd be fun, but other than that, it's just something that that could exist. It just sounds like it'd be fun, but I don't really know anything about it. And yeah, definitely would check it out though. Okay, Secret Invasion. This is the show that could either make or break the entirety of Marvel. I would say I'm very interested, but it could also break the entirety of Marvel. And what I mean is because, okay, imposters. There's like the one thing I did not like about Far From Home was how they replaced Nick Fury with the Skrulls, and they're saying in Secret Invasion the Skrulls have invaded all areas of life on Earth. And to me that could potentially be a very bad sign for Marvel. Like, if it was different than Marvel, it probably wouldn't matter. But in Marvel, like, there's so many characters we've become attached to and stuff that I kind of worry about what that means. And it's like, okay, so yeah, they're in every area of Earth's life. That's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with like them having random convenience store characters turning out to be Skrulls and like doctors and all that. But if you're like taking very important Marvel characters like Darcy or Ned and saying, "Oh yeah, part of the time these characters were replaced by Skrulls," it just kind of feels like you're cutting off, like, just going back and saying, "Oh yeah, part of these characters that you've grown so attached to, part of their stories are not really part of their character development because they've been replaced partway through." And it's like with Far From Home, it kind of feels like with Nick Fury's part in that, it's kind of like, what's the point in having even Nick Fury in the film if he's not really in the film at all the whole time? And it kind of takes away from that. And like, if they have characters like Darcy Lewis from Thor and WandaVision, or Ned, Spider-Man's friend, turn out to be Skrulls this whole time or part of the time, it just really, it could really mess up the characters. But at the same time, if they do it right and don't mess up any of our favorite characters, it could be interesting. And the Sony supervillain verse. Don't know what else to say about the Sony supervillain verse because they do what they can. I remember we had this toy for this bad guy, Craven the Hunter. We had him, and we lost the original toy, who I think was from the Haunted House movie, Disney's Haunted Mansion movie. And we had him called Brainy, and he was a bad guy, the arch villain of our Toyland. And when we lost the other toy, we replaced him with Craven the Hunter. That turned out, and he was the new bad guy. But we still had him Brainy. It was just like he had a new makeover or whatever, and we recast him as Brainy. So that's my experience with Craven the Hunter. But that's beside the point. But yeah, he was the bad guy of our toys. But beside the point, it might be interesting to see a bounty hunter supervillain film. But yeah, like with the other Spider-Man supervillain films, they kind of do feel a little bit out there and not always the most productive. Maybe. Okay. Ant-Man and the Wasp. 3-2, whatever. Quantumania, they just, instead of adding numbers, they just add more words in each one. The first one was Ant-Man, the second one Ant-Man and the Wasp, the third one Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So, they just keep adding more names and extending the title, and that's how you know what one it is. No numbers or anything. Yeah, a little interested. The first two Ant-Man movies, they were kind of alright, but they kind of just had a little bit more of that. They were decent movies, but for the most part, it just felt more off to the side, like they just were off to the side films. They kind of are important, but not like major films. And more like filler films. And so with the third one, they're going to the quantum realm, which could be really interesting. But yeah, I might wanna find out a little bit more about this. And yeah, King is supposed to appear too. Okay, like I said with Doctor Strange 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the other Marvel film that I was like, okay, after Infinity War and Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the other film that I was like, there were two films that I want to see after Endgame, and Doctor Strange 2 was obviously number one, and like I said, I don't know if I said that, but I bought my ticket, and the other one was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which, has been long delayed, but it's been the other film that I'm like, okay, they definitely got me, and I'm definitely gonna go see that one when it comes out. So yeah, just a fun series, and I want to see how they continue it. So, yep, definitely sold on that one. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This is the spin-off series, which in the animated ones, I'll just put a little interested. I follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe mostly, so this one is kind of a little bit off to the side. Yeah, maybe. I would like to see. Maybe, I don't know. I guess a little interested. Maybe I'll get more interested the closer I get. And I'm sorry, another of those Marvel films, just meh. Yeah, like I said, it's like, Captain Marvel is just kind of pretty generic with personality, and they're just teaming up all the just kind of generic as a superhero. Exists kind of just to be the lady superhero when there's so many other lady superheroes who are much more epic in my opinion. Wanda, Black Widow's kind of gone now, but you know, I would like to see Shuri become superhero in Black Panther 2, and um, spoilers from Moon Knight. Just watch Moon Knight. But yeah, the Marvels is just like, generic superheroes teaming up. And it could be interesting. It just, Captain Marvel's just kind of a Mary Sue, and if they want to expand that and go like, how did the Mary Sue cope with having lost like she did in Endgame? That might be a really interesting take. But at this point, the only of the Marvel characters, they're bringing Monica in it, and I like Monica from WandaVision. Monica was a great character from WandaVision, but her super suit kind of just it didn't look that good, to be honest. But I like her as a character, so we'll just see. Fantastic Four. I would have put this probably in Mad just because of so many remakes, but with the whole multiverse thing going on, like, it could be really interesting to see. But I'm just a little interested. It could be really interesting to see how they play along with it. If, like, the Fantastic Four appear in the multiverse of madness, which I don't know for sure, but it's hard to not see stuff that imply stuff, but, those could have been photoshopped by people. But if they appear in the multiverse of madness, then that would be really interesting to see, like, Doctor Strange meet a Fantastic Four from another universe and go like, oh, that's interesting. Why don't we have you in our universe? And then, like, this Fantastic Four movie comes around, and then, like, a Fantastic Four team totally gets started and independently of Doctor Strange, and he's like, oh, I wondered when you were gonna come around. And that could just be fun. Just to see how that plays into everything, because, oh yeah, we've seen them in the multiverse and the Marvel Cinematic Universe film, but we haven't seen them actually from this universe, and they totally get started independently. These next two, Heart and Armor Wars. I almost know nothing about them, but these are ironically going to be, I'm going to put both of them up in somewhat interested. And the reasoning for this is because I look at these two, Ironheart, Armor Wars. They both sound like Iron Man successor shows, and they basically sound like they're pretty much could be the same show for somebody who doesn't know anything about them. So it's like, okay, so aren't these the same show? And they're probably not, but it looks like that to me who hasn't seen anything about them. And that probably for some people would just make them put it down. But for me, it's like, okay, now I'm interested to see these two shows, and they're like listed back to back almost. So it's interesting just to look at it and go like, okay, how will these be different from each other? How can they make these shows close to each other and completely different? And, like, it's just, I think that's kind of interesting to think that right now these look like they're the same show, and then, like, maybe 2 years from now, I'm like, oh, they're completely different. And I just want to, I'm interested in seeing how it transitions from, my understanding transitions from just going like, okay, they're nothing the same. Or they're pretty much the same thing, to going like, oh, they're completely different. And I want to see that happen. So, yeah. A lot of these films after this are just kind of scrambled. They weren't organized when I got on this tier list, and so they're still not. So I had to organize them, but they're kind of scrambled at this point anyway. Agatha, House of Harkness. I'm going to put that in very interested, just because I would almost say I'm sold, but I still want to know a little bit more about it before I make up any of my mind. Like, Agatha was pretty cool in WandaVision, and I want to find out more about the character, and I do want to find out about this. If it was like a Scarlet Witch project or something, I would definitely put it in. I'm sold. I would want to see a Scarlet Witch movie. But with Agatha, I'm just going to put a little bit lower. So, yeah. So I don't know about Blade at all, because I'll be honest, I don't. I know that they made Blade movies back in the day, and they were rated R. And I just tend to avoid R-rated films just because they're not what I want to. I don't want to get myself into that stuff. But and that says Lad, but I'm pretty sure it's Blade. Um, so I don't know what they're gonna do with this when Marvel makes Blade. I don't know how they're gonna approach it, uh, at all. So I can't make any decisions. Mm, this one is complicated. I mean, it is interesting to see Falcon becoming the new Captain America, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier was kind of weak. I'll be honest. It was just I don't know. It just felt like Captain America. I mean, yeah. I just Falcon and the Winter Soldier was kind of weak, and so Captain America 4. I'm glad he's getting his own movie. So, but yeah, I just don't have confidence in like the Captain America thing. Okay, Shang-Chi. Let's just say this is a sequel. I don't think this is the. I don't know if this is meant to be the sequel, but I'm just saying it's a sequel. Ay, ay, ay. I guess I want to be sold on it, but I do want to find out a little bit more. I did like the direction the first Shang-Chi went in, although I'm not sure how I felt about it having to be another universe for them to go to the fantasy world. I don't see why it had to be a completely different universe. I don't see why those fantasy creatures couldn't have existed in our world. And that's probably not a really big, important reason to complain, but I'm gonna be horrible, so I'm gonna put it in. Very interested. I want to see where Shang-Chi goes. Shang-Chi was one of those films that I was probably going to be very interested after Endgame, the first one, and I saw it, and it still is very interested for the sequel. I think it's gonna stay there, but it might move up someday after seeing the preview. When Shang-Chi 2 actually gets that far. Marvel Zombies. This is harder. Somewhere, I guess that could be interesting to see a Marvel Zombie show. I don't know. Yeah, their what if approach. I don't know. It could be interesting as long as it takes place in another universe. I don't want our Marvel world to be overrun. Echo. Echo was the character in Hawkeye, right? She was fine in Hawkeye, I suppose. I just, I just didn't feel much for her. Or I didn't feel much for Hawkeye, and it's kind of just a spin-off show. I mean, Hawkeye was fine. Okay, I'm not gonna say Hawkeye was a decent show. It's just not my pacing, and Echo seems like it's kind of a spin-off of that show. So, yeah, a little interested. I don't think that I'm like totally out of it. Um, mm. Okay, let's see. I have no idea what this World War Hulks is. I honestly don't know. I don't see it listed on Wikipedia or anything. Loki season 2. Yep, I'm gonna put this in very interested. Not quite I'm sold, but I think I could be easily sold on Loki season 2. Um just because the first season was interesting, but I'm not sure like where the second one's gonna go, and I mean we are getting a lot of multiverse content, so it might um it might balance itself out somewhat, where it's no longer feels as important to have more multiverse stuff. But I do want to see where Loki's going. This I don't know what this is, so I don't know. Sorry, Deadpool 3. Probably going to be rated R. So, and I haven't seen any of the other Deadpools. So yeah. Spider-Man freshman. This is going to be about his freshman year. I am somewhat interested. I want to see if they bring back Tom Holland for this. That would be great, and they better bring back Tom Holland. Um, I do see why they didn't start with Spider-Man's origin story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because they've had so many in the past. They've done his origin story so many times. But now that they have the whole multiverse going on, it should be safe to go back and do it now. I think that I would be all right with that. That would be cool to see. I'm almost tempted to move this up here, but it might be more slower paced than other Marvels. Like, it might not be the most epic, so I don't know. I have no idea what this is. I only see 2 letters. I don't even see any of the other letters, so I have no idea what this is. I don't even know what it's called. I just see the LK and whatever the rest of it is. I have no idea. Elk. Milk. I have no idea what that is. I don't even know its name. I am Groot. I'm a little interested. It looks like it could be cute, just like the holiday special. What if season 2? I will be honest, what if was kind of off-putting for me. I don't know. I didn't feel like I connected with What If, but I do think the concept's interesting, so I'm gonna put it there. Wakanda. I'm more interested in just like Black Panther in general, but yeah, I can go with a little interested. And Spider Woman. Is this like the Spider Woman from is this like Gwen Stacy, Spider Gwen? If that's what it is, I think I could be somewhat interested in a Spider Gwen film from but not more interested than Across the Spider Verse. If it's a completely different Spider Woman, I don't know why they would need if it's in the same universe. I don't know. It might be a little bit redundant to just. It's kind of redundant just to have a superhero and then like make the lady version without it just but having nothing different. So that's kind of why like She-Hulk is kind of a little bit below. I just don't. But if it's a different universe, if it's Spider Gwen, that could be really interesting approach. But yeah, like I said, it's the animated. If it's the animated series, it's just kind of a spin-off stuff, and I don't know. It makes you wonder where's Tom Holland and all of that, because I want to see Tom Holland's journey continue. So, Venom. I'll just say a little interested. Venom 3. I think that could be fun. Well, but yeah, mutants. I don't know what that is. I mean, I know the mutants are like X-Men or something, but like I really don't know how they're approaching that or what it is. Nova. I know I was just going on about how like swap out lady heroes aren't always the greatest, but I could be somewhat interested in Nova. I don't know. It sounds kind of like a companion show to Moon Knight. It's not a swap out. It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like a companion show, but I don't know anything about it. But I know nothing. But it sounds like there could be some interesting fantasy elements in it. I know nothing about it, so that's why it's so low or so high. It might shift depending on what I know. And I literally would put this in here. I don't know anything about Thunderbolts, but just the title sounds pretty cool, so I would put it there. But I honestly should put it here, but it sounds like it'd be cool, just the title. So, yeah. So, I don't know, we need Yeah. So when it comes to like female superheroes, I think that they can be exciting, but they need to be more than just like just the swap out for the guy hero. They need to be their own unique superheroes, and yeah. So if we had Scarlet Witch, then definitely would put Scarlet Witch like probably even before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 if they had a Scarlet Witch movie. But yeah, I I think so. That's how I'm looking forward to these films. Don't know what these one. Well, I kind of know what Blade is, but I don't know if what it's even going to be rated. And I try to avoid R-rated films. With these other films, I think Spider Woman could be interesting if it's part of the Spider Verse because Gwen Stacy was an interesting Spider Gwen was an interesting character. What if is yeah. My thoughts on Thor 4. There's a lot of Sony Spider Man films here, which kind of I don't know. This could be really interesting. Some of these can shift over time, maybe depending on how they look when they get closer. I probably would have put Thor 4 in meh, but now it's kind of up and a little interested since I've seen the trailer. Um, I honestly have no idea what Nova's about, but I think it could sound fun. If uh, if it's fun, which I don't know, but I'll wait to see. Yeah, some of these I need to know more about before I can get really excited for them. Like, probably a lot of these could shift up over time, like, depending on what the previews look like. I don't think anything would shift down. Like, Marvel usually doesn't shift down much, except for Secret Invasion could completely mess up the MCU. Yeah. Well, Ironheart and Armor Wars I'm just putting there because, for ironic reasons, they could be just a little interested, but just because they look so similar and I want to see how they're different, kind of raises my intrigue in those two. Um, Other than that, yeah, that looks like my ranking for excited for Marvel films. Can't wait to check these out. I'm pretty much gonna eventually check all of them out. Just at what pace, whether I see them when they come out or not. It's definitely gonna shift over time. Yeah, but that's my anticipation for Marvel projects. I hope you enjoyed my ranking stuff and hope to see you next time. Bye.